all this shade from YouTube and Facebook, and I'm like, man, what the hell's going on? And I keep hearing, time to go. I'm like, are you serious? How's it going to happen? Boom, boom, boom. Ended up launching it on Morgan's birthday organically on the same day that I received that name in the linear experience. 4 years before I met her.
Well, the timing of that was really interesting too, because I finally got the green light to actually take action on something.
Okay.
Which I'd been trying to for almost 2 years, and my team was kept saying like, no, not yet. Like if you wait till the right time and the energies are right, it'll go a lot smoother and easier. And it wasn't like some big powerful shift, but something just shifted that day, and I just suddenly started doing it. And only a little while later, I saw that you were actually launching the Soulogy site that day, and I was like, that totally fits. So,
well, yeah. And I think this is important because what do we got in here? 8 people. We'll formally roll it out in 45 seconds. Because I'm hearing that a lot. Eric Rankin Smith, Gingy Reynolds' partner, he just released a book. He'd been working on the book for like, I don't remember exactly, 5 years, 8 years. All of a sudden, 3 months ago, he just, boom, sits down and actually put it out the same week we came out. So there's a lot of this energy of, like this, what is it? How would you say it? Like, I don't want to say subtle, but like everything just kind of falls in line, and people are starting to launch these new creations, new relationships, everything constructed with the Trinified energy, not a pious kind of thing. It's just hey, we dig through the shadows every day, but we're also got this other side going, which is these new creations.
It's like, I've often found in my life, not always, sometimes they can be big, but often I find that the real lasting changes are not always the big wham bam thank you ma'am shifts, but they're often what I call subtle. Isn't quite the right word, as I say, but in comparison, it's probably the best word compared to like big wham bam thank you ma'am. They're more subtle but pervasive and effusive, and I find that those changes in my life experience are often the ones that are actually the really deeper foundational change that ends up being more permanent and long lasting. And it was that kind of energy that day. It was that kind of shift where something definitely shifted, but it wasn't a big explosive in your face. It was just, and yeah, it's like where it's very organic and natural. It's almost like all of the prepared the ground and laying all the foundation and the playground in a way energetically, but it's like, now it's time to actually go and play in the playground. Now it's time to actually eat of the fruits of our labors, I guess, in a way, so to speak.
Yeah. So like, I heard women, Morgan, many women, going back to 2012 or 13, whenever this all started picking up, and they all had like their piece, and they all, I don't know, being in their space now, and I've actually asked them directly, like, on the show, like they're at this point where finally they're ready, being finally the masses or the people or the whatever is ready for what I've been downloading all these years. So you got a bunch of those components. They're going to come online because of this expanded awareness. But yeah, too, I think like what you're talking about, like you said, this was something that had been there, kind of like on the back burner, and you keep being told, which is, I can feel that rhythm, and I think a lot of people probably feel the same thing over the last few years. But there's been like this slow, not slow as in not powerful, but like this steady, deliberate, like a drip. Like it just keeps pushing. And that's, I don't know, that's kind of how it went for me. And then like you. Now, when did this happen for you? Was it 1st of March?
It was exactly that day. It was the same day Yeah.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah. And I actually caught up with my soul sister, Melinda. You know who you had on? She did the Ring of Fire.
Yeah, I remember her. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so she lives 10 minutes away. She's one of the dragon weavers, and my soul sister I connect with. So we had a walk and weave, and then swim on the beach that day, and she'd had exactly the same energy and the same thing. That's something that she'd been really struggling with just for a couple of weeks, but it was quite intense. She the same. It just suddenly got the prompt and took action on it, and she just felt so much lighter and clearer. And that's kind of for me. It's like it's the place where the action we take. It's like the Tao Te Ching says something about like the wise person. They do nothing and yet nothing gets left undone. So it's sort of that place to me which is really where just when we're in alignment or in balance, like how our soul actually operates, is the place where being and doing are one thing.
Yeah.
And I always say just like being comes from doing, comes from being, comes from doing. So it's the kind of action that comes organically and naturally and spontaneously and effortlessly from that place of being,
Yeah.
of simply our soul. It's just us following our soul impulse directly and naturally. And so that action is not it's not I must take action or I must do this. It's just this natural, we're in the flow and it's time for this. So there's a natural expression or movement towards whatever action is appropriate, in the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's kind of
It's
feels
like
to me.
it's like life is happening with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's life dancing with life as life, and I'm that.
Yeah, and at the human level, it's like you get up and you go, okay, this is what we're doing today. It's like that. You know what I mean? You get your instructions in the moment, basically.
Yeah.
And
There's still, sorry.
anything. No, I was just gonna say anything can be overridden, such as deadlines, time, uh, these false constraints, whatever. Like we just go right past them. It's like okay, that's not a thing anymore. It's not. It doesn't stay with us. We don't bring it with us. Go ahead.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. It doesn't
Well,
matter.
let's talk about we're 8 minutes in, so
Yeah.
it's a late show for us. So a lot of this will be on replay, but let's talk about what precipitated this. So I had seen a video. It's a 3 minute, 9 second video, and I just found it. We're going to play it, and it was Mateus De Stefano, who I think a lot of has a pretty high degree of credibility. I mean, he pulled off some major. That's either the biggest orchestration of the Illuminati, or one of the premier light worker journeys. But in this video, which I think is called "Will There Be a World War III?" It's a excerpt. He says something in here, and so it resonated with me to the point where it not unnerved me, but it took me to a deeper space of potential openness. And it was on my mind. You know how this thing is now, because you wake up and, oh, this is what I'm doing today. Oh, I got a show. Boom, I'm on the show. I'm talking to somebody, and I tried to reflect on it, but I couldn't pull in, and I knew it. It wasn't like I just kind of said it too general because I couldn't remember the salient points or the salient energy that drew me in. So then I just happened to be on, and I saw a post, and I saw what you wrote, and you wrote like, "Who the hell said that?" and that was powerful. And I thought, well, yeah, that's kind of where I was at. And then I saw this thing, and I was like, I'm in the middle now. So why don't we do a show? Boom, here we are. And so why don't we just play it, and then we'll talk about it because I don't remember it. So
before you do that, as always, I was getting. I mean, there's a lot of huge juicy energy coming in today, anyway.
yeah,
And then once you reached me and were like, "Oh, we're going to do the show," I started to get that charge up.
cool.
So I went and jumped in. I've got beach here. I went and jumped in the ocean and had a body surf, which was great. but I feel like so often this happens with me and you. There's so much energy coming in, and I'm not out there. I'm right here, but somehow it's like my team all line up, and there's so much code coming in and pouring in. And I don't mean like me, like I'm I mean through us and the energy of Soulogy, of all the people here, and I'm just a conduit. But I want to, just before we go into this, I also just kind of want to I don't know, you and I, we just, there's no gap, we just meet, we just go into it. But I wanted to actually stop and just bring it back for a moment and say, it's been a while, and that was completely fine, because I had so much, I had nothing to have come on and said. Anyway, and this happened, this was just a prompting, and then it happened. So today's the day, I guess. But I wanted to say, first of all, again, as always, thank you, and congratulations, because it is time. And I also, being an ex-IT programmer, analyst, all that, I have some kind of understanding of the level of work involved in, even just a website, let alone the platform that you're actually putting together for that. So I want to say kudos and gratitude to you and all involved in helping dance awake this dream into reality, because it is time, because we're done with it. Who wants to be a part of the old world censorship and all? Anyway, don't need to go there. That's just complete BS. So I wanted to say, so I want to say thank you, gratitude, and totally happy to be a part of helping support that. And I also just wanted to say that there was nothing. It was interesting what came, because I was more like I was prompted with something with that. It wasn't like, let me say, that was perfect. Everything, I love Ty, and I loved that show. The whole thing was great. So it wasn't like I got triggered or that shouldn't have been said or that. It's not well, that's all very good, but like, here, let me correct you, let me cancel your code, let me.
No, you didn't say that. No, you didn't.
I knew you probably know that, but I'm just trying to kind of make that clear. And I mean, this has been coming and popping in for a while, and it was interesting today, and I want to mention her too. She said to say hi, Eva Clonan. The first post I see today, and I don't scroll Facebook, it was the first thing I see, that she did a post. I'm actually prompted to read this.
Read it.
I'm actually prompted to read this. I'm just getting into Facebook too. Because I was like, this is coming through somehow in the collective, and so it's worth mentioning. It's not countering or saying you're wrong. It's like, can we add another perspective? As you say, adding what is it? Adding frequencies to an ever-expanding vibration.
Yeah.
So this is like, there's something coming through me that is trying to also add another perspective to that code and energy of what you and Ty were talking about. And part of that for me is also like not knocking astrology. I like astrology. I work with it a bit. I'm not in astrology, but I'm very intuitive. But I've also felt for a couple of years that there's also somehow there's astrology of the old 3D matrix too, and that is up to be updated as well. And I think Ty is, of all the people I know, I think Ty is one of the ones that are most in tune and capable, that if there's any truth to that, to exploring that which we know and that which may be changing within that. So I'd be interested to say what he's probably already onto that, knowing him, but to see and feel what he says about that. Anyway, let me read this.
Keep rolling, man.
So I just really wanted to make that clear. Like, I totally.
Well, I think, but I think, and I appreciate that. I really do. I think this is something that is part of what's happening. We're not going to have to say these things anymore. What I mean is, everyone knows everybody's intention. Everybody knows. We're going to recognize how connected we really are, because we've already been working on this through this 10-year period that we just got through with. And
Exactly.
that was it. That was the fucking home stretch in a multi-dimensional, multi-universal marathon that's all coming down to the summary life. And now we're on the other side, like what you talked about on March the 1st. On March the 1st, I had a knowing vision that where Morgan was staying there was a Stargate. And I said, "You're going to see the Stargate." 2 nights later, she took pictures of it, posted it, and it showed up several more times. She started putting it into her groups, the Stargates everywhere. What are these Stargates? They're just like these, and I know it's all metaphoric, but I mean like a place that you can go, and whatever's presented, is it's at the new Earth level, new grid, whatever you want to call it, and there's a creative purpose to it all.
Yeah, and it is metaphorical, and it's also not. It's literal. It's energetic, and ultimately that Stargate is also right in here, and to where it's out there, and it's also in here, and that's the infinity dance, where it isn't only in here or only out there, and where really they're one in the same thing, but they're two aspects of that one and the same thing dancing.
Because there's a triad beneath. There's a triad energy beneath whatever we're seeing, and some of the stuff that we're seeing, we're still going, "Oh, is that okay?" You know what I mean? But that's leaving. And this March 23rd date seemed to be freaking huge. She found a new way. I don't know if it's a new way. She's a way to numerically account for the month. As in it's a 3-day. It's in the 6, and that day was a 33/6 day, like a super power day. And I think there's another one coming April 24th. She said, but so there's all this, and what the solar flares. Like, that Pat Donworth that always puts that stuff up every day, and a few other people. Man, every day it's like, I saw one yesterday.
Or something.
What was that?
There was a G4 or something, magnetic jet.
Dude, I don't even know any of these terms. I see them, G4, M1s, but I saw one yesterday that Janelle, she's a sacred union with a really cool dude. I don't remember the name, sorry. But very high frequency, very credible. And she said this is the biggest one today. And that was just one of the many in the last few days that we've had in 6 years.
Yeah, to me this whole year, even from late last year, but even more than ever since this year, it's like we landed. We're already there. Now we're just exploring, expanding, expressing. Oh, I'm getting reminded. Guess who's here?
Franco.
Yeah, you knew it there.
Dude, tap in. Just tap in to your team and to Franco.
Well, the thing is, my main team leader, and she's one of the main coordinators of all this shift for me, is Dolores Cannon. But after Franco passed, he kind of turned up, and he's another main coordinator of this whole thing. And so her and him work quite closely together. And already late last year, quite often when Om and I were weaving, Dolores would turn up, but then Franco started turning up. And sometimes
who were you weaving with?
With Om,
with Om. Okay, so you and Om are weaving, and
until we haven't woven since October or something. Okay. Not for any bad reason or falling out. It just kind of fell away. But Franco started turning up, and he has today, and again it's turned up, and he turned up. They were really celebrating, and it's really funny because Franco had like this party hat on, right? And he had these, the whistle blower things from parties.
Yeah.
Right, he's so funny sometimes. So anyway, he's turned up today as well, right now, and he's the same. And only it's not just a party hat; it's got like dunce written on that hat, and I'm like, what the? You're wearing a dunce's cat, but he's gone, get this. This is what he's saying. He's saying, yeah, all those that were, didn't fit the matrix and were labelled as dyslexic, and this is current no ADHD or whatever, in our age group were maybe put in the corner wearing the dunce's hat. They were the ones most tuned in, and even the dunce's hat was like a cone or a channel to help you even more channel in the energy. So anyway, he's saying dunce is standing for don't underestimate new collective energy. And the E, he's saying intelligence, but intelligence is spelt with an E, he's saying now, right? He's saying it stands for intelligence, enhancement, embodiment, expression, and he's saying there's one more. What's the one more? Oh, come on, it's right there in my brain. Come on, Franco. I'm not getting it. The word doesn't matter. It's just, it just comes back to that, energetic. It's sum up the energy. So let's say, don't underestimate new collective energy. And that's a part of the code of what we're weaving today, about what we're talking about, is to not get caught in using our creative energy to support a narrative from the external that's linked to where we once were, and Team Contrast trying to perpetuate that rather than keep going. Anyway, sorry, there's so much code.
No, it's good. This is part of the new communication style. Keep going.
It's all part of it. So I'll go back to try and keep it in some kind of order and make spontaneous in the moment. So Eva Clonans, and she said to say hi to you, and she said, she posted, it was like a meme that said, if you still believe a major scare event, World War III or military control is needed and thus created on our timeline. And then she pointed below, and what she wrote was, and it was so similar to what was coming through me. She wrote, please folks, stop believing what you hear and pause and reorient. If you buy into this, you are helping to co-create these events. Can you not think of a higher timeline to be supporting for yourself and for all of humanity? You are doing a major disservice to the collective, and I'd seriously stop listening to those who are putting this info out there. We are here to create the shift of all ages, non-linear quantum shifts. So these old notions of what it may take to wake people up are that old, and possibly even predictive programming, disinfo and psyop to derail us light workers from bringing about the complete liberation of H-U-E, humanity, with the highest ease and grace, rather than traumatic and dramatic events. I'm not judging here. I'm simply stating it, and I feel it is a fact. And if it is necessary and unavoidable to happen, it will. But if you think and feel that, you are absolutely making it much more likely to happen, and it would be worse than it would need to be. So regardless, would you kindly stop putting your focus and energy into that timeline? All of humanity is thanking you. And I just responded to her and said, thank you. It was interesting you said that, and basically, almost cut and paste what I'd commented, right. What I was the comment. And I just want to finish too with her saying, I absolutely, with what I'd responded to her with, she said, I absolutely love and resonate deeply with everything you have shared, and so glad you were getting the word out more with Todd, because I told her I'm actually coming on to talk about this with you. She said, if you remember to mention me, please do. I actually am about to attempt to connect with him about the co-created global online community I've been nudged to bring forth. That's finally coming together. Here's another one coming together. I'm about to finally reach out to some folks. I have heard Todd say occasionally that he doesn't get to all his messages, so not even sure how best to reach out to him. I guess I can always do it through Morgan and a website. I'm about to head out into nature, but we'll be sure to catch your show with Todd. It is time for us who truly get it to come together as never before, and that it is largely what the community is about. I'm so glad you saw this and shared your thoughts. More soul family just consciously connected with. So,
Damn.
there.
Who
I'm
is
done.
that? Who is it?
Eva Clonen, Klohnen.
All
I
right,
think
got it. I
I don't
got it.
remember even if you've had her on or not, but
No, but we're going to. Now, first of
yeah.
all, let me say this: you said a lot, and you're a lot of energy, and I love it because I like the pace. That was brilliant. That was brilliant, and it was the same. It was the same frequency. Um, it, and I guess without even remembering the video we're about to watch, the 3-minute video with Matteo De Stefano, it made me realize what it brought up, and that was, how do you know? Oh, how did it go? How do you know that what you might think is the worst thing is the highest thing that could happen? Because you're not just a human being. So it was kind of like that. So let's just put it on real quick, and because I honestly don't remember all the details, and maybe I was out in left field at the time, but let's see what
Oh,
happens.
it's all perfect. Like, this is being brought out to expand upon. So, and I haven't seen it, and I like him, so I'm interested to
Yeah,
watch. So,
yeah. Let's
perfect. Thank you.
okay. Can y'all can see that? All right. Let me make it bigger. All right, here we go. Let's see. Get out of there.
Created the need of a third world war. Why? Because we forgot the opportunities that we had in the second one, which was to become aware of ourselves. But it's been a good improvement. But even though we are still creating that reality, which I call the Plan C. So the Plan A was supposed to be done in the 20s. And it worked kind of, but eventually, every time that we accomplish a good moment of evolution, it's like if we got stuck in that idea. Instead of understanding the conflicts, we started to fight the conflicts. So that creates the need of a huge conflict again, to face the reality that you shouldn't fight for peace or something like that. So right now we are in a moment that humanity is asking for a huge conflict because we are still fighting to one another, not understanding the importance of the process we are living in. So I wouldn't be really concerned about a conflict coming, which is obvious. I would be much more concerned about what we are going to do after. Like, are we going to repeat the same thing?
Right. If it's not integrated.
If it's not integrated, it will be a fourth. And,
Yeah.
So even though this is the moment with the highest amount of people becoming aware in all human history, even if you can notice that, when you see the whole history, this is the moment with the highest level of consciousness, meaning that we need a higher level of conflict. So that's where we are now, and it will be transcendental. But we have to integrate technology for that, and to understand our own technology, which is our bodies. This new age is all about technology and all about changes. So it won't be a moment where you say, "Oh, I'm in peace." This is Aquarius. So we will have to innovate all the time the ways we see things.
So, all right, let me get this back.
Sorry, can you hold on 1 minute? As Forrest Gump said, I got to go pee.
Go ahead.
I'll be right back.
I thought it was an interesting clip. first of all, him saying that this is the highest level of consciousness we've ever had on Earth. I think that that's something we should think about, because even with all of our memories and all of the great times in Lemuria or Atlantis or Elysium or Avalon or whatever, they still all succumbed to a catastrophic end by linear terms. Man, you're loud.
Oh, do you mind turning the mic down again?
Huh? No, you're good. No, I was making a joke. You're good. Okay, so I was just going, like, one of the things is, because it's not all about, oh, is that going to happen? We can talk about anything. I think this is a very good topic. I love what he said about, even with everything he said, which he seemed to say with no attachment, just based on what he knows, that the Earth has never, ever had this level of consciousness. So if you take that statement, which means that we would have a higher consciousness than Atlantis, regardless of what they may have had in open technology. And somebody's right here. I saw him twice. And that means the same for Lemuria. That means, because all of the previous civilizations that are a part of us and we were a part of ended by human terms, by linear terms, matrix terms, whatever you want to term it, not from a soul's perspective, as a catastrophe. So, we're at the highest level ever. Anything's possible. Even what he knows, everything, just like Frankel would say, this is what I see right now. It's a photograph, and the minute we walk out of here, it's subject to change and will change. So, we're at the highest level ever. Anything's possible. Is that you?
Sorry, yeah, I was.
Okay. No, it's all
It's
right.
all good.
But the last thing is, I think what I'm hearing him say is that after World War II, that was the first opportunity. And it wasn't about, was something going to happen, but what are you going to do after you guys just went to war? So what happens? Then you have World War II. And it's like, what are you going to do now after the 2 bombs are dropped and all this stuff? And we're speaking energetically in this community. We know that. So if you look at the recent history, we'll just call them the antagonist energy, the villains, whatever you want to call it. That's really when things picked up, was from World War II. I mean, you can trace it through YouTube all the way up to 9/11. It's all associated, 9/11, everything. Assassination of Kennedy, everything. We can talk about this now because we have our own platform. Thank you for all the time you gave us, Facebook and YouTube. But my point is that when he said, in the aftermath, we didn't do the right thing, the thing that I would suggest is that after World War II, all that information, or all the highest technology and esoteric, was in a small little group, and the rest of us have a say-so, like your friend says, of how things go. And how could the 99.99% be outweighed by the 1%, but by the concession of each individual in the 99% from their own mind, conceding to that which has been presented to them? All right, so to me, that speaks volumes, because one of us is more than they are. And again, they are part of this play, and they're part of the whole. The universe isn't complete without them, and we're not complete without them, and vice versa. So, I don't know. I mean, is this is essentially saying that it's always like this? In other words, I think you mentioned dance a while ago, but like, so the catalytic catastrophic event comes, or whatever, the time comes or whatever, and boom, there's an increase in awareness, right? And then does it go like that and you stay in front of it? You know what I mean? Or what? I don't know. Anyway, I don't have the answer. I just thought it was thought provoking, and I think you're the perfect guy to talk to about it. What do you?
Well, because I didn't come here saying this is wrong and I have the answer and what's right. At best, sometimes I get prompted to ask the right questions.
Yeah. No, I think this was all synchronistic, and I can tell you right now, I feel, I'll tell you straight up, because we're talking a new language and we're all coming out and really not hiding anything. But I feel a strong connection. I'm not going to say strong connection. I feel a strong connection with Franco, as many people do. But this dude has been slowly, just through flow, been presented, and I feel that maybe this is congruence. But at all times, I keep my eyes open. Obviously, we have to. So I think this is all orchestrated. Whatever got us here to talk about this at this moment, I think that's the important thing. And I think your perspective and your reflections would be well received by us.
And I want to say too, I have been aware of him. I haven't seen a lot of his, and I like him and I like his energy, and I like his energy there. As you said, I don't feel like it's, he's hijacked pushing a narrative or something, but I do feel, ultimately, and for all of us, is ultimately, this is linked to what came through yesterday. I was prompted to. It's about, the word information.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? Information. I am information.
Yeah.
We're all awakening, like even being enlightened. It's not like I'm enlightened, I'm awake, that's it, I'm done. Sausage, you're done, stick a fork in me. No, that's just a certain shift in perspective. And then it's like, oh, now try and embody this. Now the personal me, Mr. Jed consciousness has. That's why I like the word popping. Enlightenment's fine because it involves a lot of light, but it has so many myths, so many myths and connotations and everything. And really, to me, it's just all it is the you pops. Do you think you are the personal you pops open to the universal you, and it's not an all or nothing. It's not like you never had this universal you. It's just that aperture pops open and doesn't really close up again. But then there's the dance of, again, the infinity dance. How embodiment? How do I dance as this and this? They're one and the same thing, but they're two aspects of the one. I feel like I'm sidetracking, but I'm not.
I don't think you're sidetracking. I think what you're saying is maybe the experience. Well, we've all been directed this way. The experience is driven inner, and maybe because of our humanness or because of our programming, or I don't know where it starts and stops. I'm not trying to say that, but let's say because of our emotional investment or our traumatic investment or something like that, we take it until our perspective is the soul's eyes. We look at this through some lenses, and we take it too literal from the human level, and maybe it's nothing more than we came down into these corporal, energetic bodies to literally absorb light. And whatever narrative you want to follow, like the soul coming in and light coming in. Oh my God, I feel like it's coming in now. What the hell's going on? And maybe that's I don't want to say the measure of the growth or the measure of the experience or what it's all about. I don't know, man. This is it, and at the same time, this is only one part of it, right? There's a whole multidimensionality list of streams and questions that are all there, and we're somehow or another like holding them all on a platter, and we can carry them and run with them, and nothing falls off. You right? Go ahead, man.
No, it's perfect. There's just so much, and that's it too. Like that's how it's been for months. That's what I said to you earlier. Like I had nothing to come on and share anyway. I had so much that I got nothing, right? Like. So much more and more and more. It's coming in. It's like energetic information. There's there's less and less of it to me that is coming through in words and concepts and narratives. There still is to an extent, but more and more of it is like just direct, energetic. How can I put it? It's almost like the source code doesn't need to go through a translator to translate to the human anymore in words and concepts we can understand. It's like we speak source code now. We already grok it, we get it, we absorb it, we embody it energetically. Anyway, I've got so much coming at once, I'm just kind of still down. And I want to say, I didn't realize until a minute ago that, and I'm terrible, I should say that again, I'm normally really terrible at actually watching chat while I'm doing this because it tends to like distract my consciousness from just being open
I think you can close it out on your end.
But I love the fact that I was looking at Facebook just to try and follow it, but I didn't. Then I saw this little window and realized, I can actually see the chat from here.
You can see the chat from all the platforms.
Right. So I want to say hi to Sasha Grace. She said hello, and everyone there, and what Delia wrote. I just saw a few of her comments on it were perfect. But anyway, I'm trying to, again, it's like, it's quantum. There's so much. Everything's connected. So how do you distill all of that code and energy that's coming through and bring forth, how do you distill into words some simple essence to express all of that's coming through? And I'm, I'm still learning that one. So
we're all learning. I think you summed it up already, though. I never heard it before. Somebody else said they never heard it before either. But so really, what is this? This present moment, all around us, it's information, right? Information from our memory banks, and information from the forward, backwards, sideways, past, present, future, all that parallel. And then you said, I'm in formation. So if we're in formation with all the information ever, the only information we don't have is what happens next, which is now coming into our awareness that it's what we think. To your friend's point, right? And to your point. So really, it's up to us. We can decide to make a choice that has been made in previous incarnations as we collectively experience something like an Atlantis or whatever. Or we can choose different. I'm just making the observation based on this experience that there's 99.99% of us, and there's only, like David Icke said when he came on the show, you could put them all in one room, and the rest of us are outside of it. So how in the hell can a small group of souls in a universe, multiverse that's created inequality, period, every fractal, it's just a matter of what level of awareness or whatever you want to put it, how can that be? We're coming into something that is not just going to slightly tip the scales here. It's something that's going to be like a tsunami.
And it's, you know how they do it, and they've always done it, only by hijacking the collective imagination.
Yeah, consent. Hey, you want to watch this? You want to watch this girl in a glass window in front of a store in the red light district in a bikini? Or, I mean, it's everything. And say, this is where I think we're being driven to, is to finally detach. I've been saying stuff like this, and people probably think I'm crazy, but I've said it for a long time. I don't believe I should have to carry a passport, an ID, borders, and this and that. But I think it goes further than that. I think that stuff is part of the construct, and it will deconstruct as it decomposes. I think where it lies in, Netflix, radio, anything mainstream, a lot of stuff on the internet, even that are described as light workers and this and that. I think it's more and more being driven to a central circle, which is us, and we're forming kind of like guerrilla warfare, forming out in the trenches in the middle of nowhere at a very quick rate, and behind it is really our choice. I mean, our choice points are creating it more and more every day.
Yeah, and you keep saying the words, like, really, that's it. It, like, I think that's the essence of my prompting that came through with this was just that, recognizing our choice. It is our choice, and recognizing that there's a lot of we've been so primed and conditioned to, again, it all still comes down to externalizing our authority and the voice of false authority, and to follow and to be hijacked, to have our consciousness and our imaginations. I'm part of the imagination into program narratives.
Oh, I like that. I didn't catch that. You're good with that. I magi nation.
Yeah, I'm part of the imagination. Like, and again, even that. Who was the kid with the dunce's hat in the corner, Franco? Who was the kid with the dunce's hat in the corner? The one that was daydreaming. Or what was daydreaming? Oh, it's just your imagination.
It's creation. It's creation.
That's my imagination. How do you think the universe was created, and what we see and experience hums along?
Bravo.
Our imagination. So they did it by and those few percent that are also us.
Yeah. Well, and this is where the rubber meets the road. And again, coming with the clarity, if we carry a charge, even the way that you spoke, even to me, the main thing is it creates a situation or an opportunity or a potential for a group share, a group merge, or something like that, an expansion of some sort. But there's still that clarity. With that clarity comes a personal responsibility. Like for instance, I'm working with myself and I say, I'm not in judgment. I'll say, I'm not in judgment, but this is what I'm saying. And then I say to myself, well, why do you have to say you're not in judgment? Because if you have to say you're not in judgment, then there's a part of you that's not sure, or something like that. So I think this is how we're the trajectory we're headed in this. What did you say? In formation is. I forgot what I was saying. I'm trying to remember that word.
Well, is it the amount? What I was saying, we've been conditioned and primed to basically be formed by outward sources and authorities and information.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not the mistake too. You think with enlightenment or something that, oh no, I'm some all-wise, all-seeing, knowing. It's like, fuck that shit. If you
that's okay. We're not going to be on social. We're not going to be on the mainstream anymore.
What I said, no enlightenment or not enlightenment, all of that, only in the most minute relative sense.
Yeah.
Is that it's like it's not even worth mentioning. And if you're mentioning it as claiming something, then you might as well, you know what? You should write, I'm an enlightened being on a piece of paper, burn it and flush the ashes down the toilet for all the use it is to the human collective at this time.
Yeah.
Or at any time. Right? So I just want to qualify that. I rarely even bother and mention it, and the only reason I do is absolutely not as if that somehow qualifies my opinions or perceptions any more than anybody else's at all, or makes me at all in any way something special. It's like there's another step in the process of awakening, and believe you me, and that's one of the myths that you think there's not an ego. If you didn't, at least the world according to Mr. Ged, right? Take it with a grain of salt. But in my knowing and experience and understanding, if I didn't have an ego, my consciousness could not be attached and still here in this body. So, and the ego has been vilified. To me, it is not. A lot of what is vilified about the ego is what I would call the hijacked ego, the pseudo false self, the matrix hijacked ego. The ego to me is one of the greatest designs of the Creator ever made. It is the interface between not only all of the different aspects and energies of ourself, and I'm not just talking human, I'm talking multidimensional. It is that which integrates and harmonizes, and it's the interface too is through you and I, through me here as you know, whatever I am presence or not, if it's allowing to come through or not, if there's not too much of Mr. Jed's grumpy, fucktard, conditioned self shit, because there's still plenty of that in me. Out,
Well,
believe, but also there's the beauty of the Mr. Jed, the individual, the character. As I love it when you said you only get to be Todd one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I only get to be Mr. Jed, and all of my other incarnations, past and future, are all there concurrently, and they're all soul aspects of the one greater oversoul I am.
Yeah.
But in this moment, at this time, in this place, you know, there's also outside time, but within linear time and space in here, I'm here as Mr. Jed for a reason.
Do you think that part of what we're doing, and I know this, hope I can frame this up right, part of what we're doing is actually being a human being. I don't know if I can say this right. Being a human being, and that out there part of it, actually bring it in, not a cliche, but bring it in and actually, you know, I do this sometimes. I'll just be walking down the neighborhood when I go for walks, and I'll be thinking, okay, I'm going to be the aspect from Rome when I was a Roman soldier or something. I picture myself like being a Roman soldier, but not being the Roman soldier, being his consciousness or that part of me, whatever it may be, and going, holy shit, this is what it's like to be Todd, and you know, we're all kind of like the monad and the oversoul, and everybody's all got connection to it, and they get the information, but actually to be walking in like spirit flesh. I feel like that. I'm not saying that's happening or going to happen. I just feel like that's a metaphor. Like we're walking on the holiest of the holies. We really are. Because whether it's a physical reptilian or a cobra or an army or a man-made virus or whatever it is, it's still outside of me. But it's still outside of me until it's inside of me. And everything outside of me is inside of me. And with that, we see you talk about surrendering, letting go, detaching, and all the stuff everybody's been through the last few months, doing that energetically in their own way. There is this upside to it. And like what you tapped into on the 1st and what's been happening since the 1st of March with this creativity and people launching things, I think it's a good sign. In fact, I think it's a phenomenal sign.
I feel like, and this is the heart and essence too of this, I think what's coming through, and I've been feeling like most of this year, but more and more, just want to say too what Dr. Grace is, enlightenment can become us and then unbecome us because we are living a human existence. So it's a humbling experience and really doesn't have to be an identity. The moment it becomes an identity, it's being created by ego. Yeah,
that's
really
brilliant. That's
yeah,
brilliant.
really well.
That really is. That's a brilliant summation right there. Enlightenment can become us and then unbecome us because we're living a human existence, so it's a humbling experience and really doesn't have to be an identity. The moment it becomes an identity is created by ego.
And as there's two little bits of wisdom, if I have any at all, that I distill, and always, I've said this to you before, it's the heart of it for me. It's the heart of this dance for me it's within, at least while we're here in a human body, if in my Syrian self, it's probably my Syrianness that lay my divinity. But for me, it's within our humanity that lay our divinity. And within our divinity that lay our humanity. This is probably the highest and probably one of the only singular pieces of wisdom, if I have any at all, that I feel is worth sharing, is that. And that's the infinity dance. And to whatever degree we deny our humanity, all of it, and our emotionality, which is a big part of the power of our creative imagination as a human being.
Man, that's our superpower, dude.
Yes.
Emotions.
And it's also been our greatest weakness.
Yeah.
To be controlled and manipulated through fear, through false narratives. But man, it is our superpower. And once you've, like the gene keys, once you work through the shadow aspect of the city, you can fully unlock the gift And our greatest gift is our emotionality, our energy. Anyway, I'll say with that, to whatever degree we deny our humanity, our humanness, is, to my understanding and experience, is the degree to which we are also denying our divinity.
Well,
And vice versa, to whichever degree we deny our own divinity by externalizing, I'm going to keep nailing the nails into Christ's hands and putting the crown of thorns on his head and hanging him on the cross of suffering because he's my scapegoat, he's my savior, externalizing that, then you are denying your own divinity. Anyway, that's it. I'm done for now with that. There's so much code.
Sound like a preacher.
But yeah, well, I'm not, but
Good
to
stuff,
me,
man. No, it's good. I
that's
got you. Well, I mean, look, the human. Okay, how did you put it? The divinity, humanity, right? Okay. The human and the divinity are one and the same thing. That's the whole point, right? I mean, like, if you your divinity, period, right? You're walking spirit flesh, and if you look at because this is it. This is the human. This is the humanity. The body is it. The body is Grand Central Station. It's the headquarters. It's the HQ. And so if you look at this as anything less than that, then that's the gap that we're trying to narrow. We're trying to, get closer to this place. And the body is coming online. There's some what we might have called bizarre things happening, and at a high frequency, both in frequency and in, the how often it happens with people. There's all kinds of little story, and that's why I say it's kind of like a guerrilla warfare. It's kind of like little cells split out there in the middle of nowhere, and then they split again, and they split again, and they produce, and they go from 4 to 8 to 60, whatever the numbers are. Really, 3, 6, 9, 12, right? But yeah,
Elizabeth,
you can smell it.
Sorry,
no, I'm just saying. Every day, there's more and more intel coming in that's the same. There's more, awareness of what's coming, like the motions of all the different rhythms, these equinoxes and solstices. I mean, the awareness around those has increased dramatically. Full moons. I mean, we're reading the landscape, and also just daily life. Synchronicities and loud messages that you see over and over again, things like that.
Elizabeth Appledore said, "The divine play, soul playing human, playing soul," and that's what sums up that infinity dance as human and divine, as personal self and universal self. Is you said, I am soul, what you say all the time, I am soul, because the soul to me is the bridge between the spirit light body self, which is closer to creator source self, and the body and the personal individualized ego self. Soul, that's that wasn't something I learned from externally. That was, even as a child and getting older, like growing up more and more, how I just came to see and feel energetically my way. It's only another way of mapping things. It's my narrative or way of mapping, but that's, to me, was like, there's just source. There's pure, undivided universal intelligence. And then that to me, then that created a soul, but then to me there's the light body self, there's the spirit, which is also still individualized to some extent. Gedalia has a spirit, but then that that steps down then into soul, which is even more individualized, and that comes down into personal, individualized, embodied life stream, ego self. But soul to me was always really the bridge between all those things, between my light body and my physical body. That's a good way to just distill and simplify, because in that, as you said, and I think that talked about it for years, and that's really what happening is, I think that merging and activation is the synthesis of that is we're already there, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
And that, sorry, you were going to say something. Go on.
No, I just said I agreed. I said, oh, yeah.
And that I'm prompted to come. I've got Dolores and Franco both like.
Tell us what they got to say.
And this is all connected to. It's all related in a way. To come back to, I guess what's coming through is to say, okay, my reading and take from what I got on Stefano's, what he was saying. Okay. We can do a reading on the collective in a way, or where they're at, the collective needs to have this level of conflict to go through more dark night of the soul before there's a collective awakening. And I'm not knocking that, but this is the heart and essence, I feel, of what's coming through me is, from what perspective are we judging? You used the word earlier, are we judging and condemning the collective based upon, let me get this clear, because this is the heart and essence of this. So let me tune in to try and get this as clearly distilled as I can. There's been an enormous amount of energy and effort, and nearly all of their efforts. And I love Stevie in Popiatech, by the way. And he's, when you had him on again, and he said, I can't remember his wording, but paraphrase, but I see the same thing. There has been, from my intellectual understanding, they've known for years they can't stop this. And I think we've already been where we're already there. And all that Team Contrast is doing is trying to perpetuate the illusion that we're not. And trying to continually, they tried to do, from what I saw and felt, they tried to do, just after that Friday, when you launched Soulogy, that March the 1st, they freaked out. And a couple of days later, they had this huge last-ditch contingency plan. And they brought everything to bear, and they were trying to do, in a way, a reset. And I got told they were trying to do another insert 1,000 years of a time bubble, of another false whole timeline, because they knew they couldn't truly reset and go back. They were trying to insert, and they couldn't do it. Sorry, I'm trying to come back to distill simple words.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
They ain't doing it. Not on our watch. They ain't doing it.
Exactly. And we a lot of work done. It was like, no, not happening. No, you don't. So this is a part of it. I'm just trying to distill this into, because I've kind of so got it, but I'm just trying to distill it into language. I rarely ever do this, but sometimes it helps. I'm prompted to actually bring this through in light language code first, and that might help me to distill it into
Go ahead.
English word. Akaranto no son pacine centanino, pantantines nachantino son pacine, garento no pachantani son pa, garento no son pani chonton pasana, chitina me simpicina, simpacine tinsi chini. Oh, okay, that helped ping me too. Okay, best metaphor. My favorite koan of all time. You know the koan about the mongoose in the jar?
No.
Okay, this is the heart and essence of it. Old Zen koan. So there's a Zen master, with his students. He's enlightened, he's trying to teach them, and, I might be paraphrasing slightly, but the heart and essence of the story is like this in Mr. Jed's words. So he says to the students, if I were to say to you that there's a mongoose trapped in a jar, how would you set it free?
Oh, you want
And
me
you can,
to answer?
yeah, if you want, if you've got an answer for that now, then you.
Oh, I didn't know if you were asking me that.
There's a story, but let's pretend you're one of the students. I'm the master. I'm not. I'm just.
Well, it depends on what kind of jar it is. It depends on a lot of things. So I'll just let you tell the story.
Okay, but that's great. What you answered is perfect. All right. So the different students. Oh well, I would smash the jar, or I would undo the lid, or I would do, and finally, when they'd all piped up with whatever, the wise student just said, I would simply say it is free. Because the master said, he didn't say there's a mongoose trapped in a jar. He didn't physically present a mongoose trapped in a jar. He said, if I was to say there's a mongoose trapped in a jar, how would you set it free? And the wise student said, well, I would simply say it is free. This is the heart and essence of where we get caught.
Mm-hmm.
Team Contrast says problem, reaction, solution. They say there's a problem. They say even through and I'm not knocking Stefano, where a lot of the collective might be still caught in the Velcro of the matrix control narrative of fear porn and Ukraine and this and everything else, all right? But they're not where they appear to be, right? Somebody says, or there's a lot of machinery designed to try and project an energetic Faraday cage and an idea around the collective that they are only here and in this cage. And therefore, because they're only here, they still need to go through however many X days, weeks, months, years of more shadow work and more conflict. It's got to get a lot darker before the dawn. This is what I'm saying. It's the mongoose. They're just saying they're projecting a mongoose in a jar. It doesn't exist. It's just a thought projection trying to Velcro and hook our imagination to buy into that story.
Yeah, and who's the one? Who is they? And I don't mean this the way it usually sounds. We're the ones that are projecting that. We're projecting it. We're offered many suggestions and potentials and subliminal inducements, and there's all kinds of stuff out there. It's not just that script playing, but yeah, I think this is to your point too about the mongoose thing, because you're right. They say there's going to be a lockdown. You say no, there's not. They say you got to go get a driver's license. We say no, I'm not. And this is what we were talking about earlier too, or I was bringing up. We're going to be pushed. It's Netflix, it's Prime Video, it's anything that they've constructed. I don't give a damn what it is. Yeah, do threads of inspiration and I Am Soul come through? Yeah, and everything. But some things are institutions of large illusionary perception by the public, but we're breaking that shit down. But I think part of it's going to require us to, if we're going to say let the mongoose free, then that means we have to let go of the fucking jar, even though there's not a jar, but we're holding the damn thing. Because if we're watching, feeding on their diet, how the hell can we free the mongoose that we are?
Exactly.
By saying I'm giving permission for this to run. So you can't tell me that that I am. I'll use myself. I cannot tell myself that I am moving out totally from 3D if I'm still addicted to something. If I still put any worth in the great movie I saw, and I hate to be knocking movies. But I used to love sports. I don't watch it anymore because I can see the program. Movies, I see the same thing, because it's a bait and switch. Watch this love story or this saga or this. so you don't see the other BS that we're sending right to your fucking subconscious or something like that. I'm not trying to sound like a doomsday, and you know I'm not like that. So here's where I'm at with it, and I'd love to hear your final thoughts on this, and take as long as you want. It looks like there's a whole lot of different stuff happening in 2023. But the one thing that seems to be happening and picking up very rapidly are these new creations, new relationships, new individuals, new groups, whatever the case is, new creations. Let's just call it that. I think everything becomes a moot point up to this point if we are focusing without force, just in this unfoldment, just in this life is happening with us, life is assisting us, life is collaborating us because this is us. That if we're doing that without, oh, you need to do that, just, and I feel like there's many of us that are, and that's what the kind of personalities you find in these communities, and I think that takes away the whole thing. Like, it's almost like, why even bring it up? Like, if final thought for me is, now I'm going to go back to the till, to the wisdom well, and go, next time I come across something like that, would I share it? Or, is there going to be a World War III? Just the question itself brings in certain energetic implications that I need to decide now, is that going to be part of my makeup? And then the next dialogue might be, why are you even watching YouTube? You're part of this community that's creating all these new videos that are going to be original, imaginative, intuitive, and creative, and collaborative, and co-created, and all that. Why don't you feed your mind from there now? Now that you guys have your own... Now, I'm just making up something, because just picture this all as a metaphor. So, yeah, and I'm guilty. I mean, I've been on talk show for years, so there's just some things, I guess, that, I got to eat my own words. Not eat my words, but walk my own talk. If I'm going to be disengaging from Netflix and driver's licenses and observing borders that aren't even fucking there, that's a mongoose. Then how can I say that I'm carrying a frequency that is no longer handicapped by that frequency when the exact same frequency is me bringing up something in the first place? I don't know. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying because I see the value of people informing, and if you don't know something, I think you should hear it.
Bingo. And that's the magic. That's the beauty. That's what I was going to say from what you were saying. If this is brought to our attention so our awareness can become aware of our own unconsciousness to hook into those programs and beliefs, and where our own imagination and energy is still being hijacked and invested in an old narrative. It's not to do with what anybody else is thinking or doing with that energy. This is, to me, am I being truly informed from my own soul? Am I listening to the information and energy coming through my own soul, not to the exclusion of anybody and anything else, because that can be dangerous as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we're not separate from that out there, and that can be a good checking process, but not... Anyway, I'll distill it to that. I think if this is not brought to our awareness, these kind of things, like, it's perfect, it's beautiful. Look at what's developed and coming out of this. And that's the way it comes down to each one of us. Where am I? Where are all the mongooses in the jars? And it's not, the way is not, and that's where we can get caught in, well, I need to fight against that narrative. No, you don't war for peace. You peace for peace.
Mm-hmm.
If I get caught in trying to, then I'm caught in trying to use a hammer to smash the jar, to get the lid off, to do whatever. I'm still investing and wasting my energy and time in trying to undo a narrative that doesn't have any substance in reality.
It's not there. It was a suggestion.
So, and what is already here, that's already awakened. It's a perfect, I'll bring it back to this perfect example, the Soulogy platform. You don't need to fight against Facebook and YouTube and oh, well, you know, or wait, oh, well, I can't speak freely more until those kind of, I have to wait until that's cleaned up and that censorship's gone away or whatever, da da da. It's like, no, you just create this.
Right. Go create your own. Yeah. Go play in another sandbox. That sandbox might be there.
Exactly.
Bam, you said something there that was a whole nother show. Now I forgot what the hell it was. What the hell were you just saying? Oh, hang on. Oh yeah, about the yeah. I have to. I can't pick it back up. I can't catch it. The stream. But yeah, I think yeah. Well, and again, like, if we were 100%, we'd be walking on water. We actually came here because we can walk on water, so to speak. Oh, I know what I was going to say. And again, to be open. So even with what Matthias de Stefano was saying, it's still metaphoric. It's always energetic. That we know. It's not always easy to see that, but the metaphoric helps us with that, right? So how do we know what the next, energetically speaking, WW3 looks like? It could be all in here, you know. It could be some kind of like massive shape shifting and we turn into giants again, or it could be so many things we don't know. That's what I mean. That's why I just remind myself with the analogy. Well, how will this actually happen? We get a bunch of spaceships land. They're all from Arcturus and Pleiades. There's no bullshit. Everybody knows this ain't no BS. This ain't no Project Blueprint. And I'm saying this metaphorically. And the understanding of how little we actually know, even at our level of awakening, is like a a hair on an elephant's ass. You know what I mean? So you have this huge, which probably would never happen because we wouldn't be able to handle it. Like we're having to take this in doses, physically as we embody. But like to have that actually entered into our space, I don't know what the hell would happen. Would we all just rise up and start levitating? But I do know one thing. The way that the 99 would look at all these institutions and all of these by power of suggestions, bricks and mortar, whatever, we wouldn't look at it. It would be like game over. Because if we're just a speck of pepper on a fly's ass or whatever, or elephant's ass, then you are too. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point. But again, then you have the crazy paradoxical teaching method of the universe, and we could wake up tomorrow and, we're all walk out to the beach and, wow, man, that was some great plant medicine last night. And at some level, that's happening. You know what I mean?
But you said a key that's coming to me again. Such a key word, judgment. All right.
Yeah.
Now, and I think that term has been completely misconstrued and misunderstood. And I would like to know what the original Aramaic meaning of it was, because I wouldn't think it would quite translate to English the way it's been. That judge ye with righteous judgment. Oh my God, has that been the cause of all?
But is there a difference between judgment and righteous judgment? And let me just put the cherry on top, because I want to hear your answer. Because one thing I heard earlier this year that I've and maybe I have to let it go now, I don't know, is that when there is no judgment, that's 100% compassion. So I went, okay, and in my own mind I was like, oh, that's judgment, or not judgment, non-judgment or judgment. Yeah, okay. And it kind of like falls in the same band of frequencies as the whole thing you were saying earlier about, like, do we have to say anything? If we know something, do we actually have to say something? Like I picture, like, we're customizing the thing. I showed it on a video yesterday, or yeah, was it yesterday? And I've always thought to myself, when that day comes, I wonder what the community will decide. What if we had it set up where you could just like it, or maybe that's not even there. Let just people put stuff up there, like abstract art, and let them have their news feed or have their video or have whatever it is, and nobody says anything. You just look at it. Because one thing about art, I can look at it, you can look at it, I can hear it, you can hear it. We get two different things.
Just reality, isn't it?
Right. So and then you have all the discourse, and how much of the old is in there. How many I love yous weren't really I love yous?
Yeah.
And, I love you in the comments, or how many times do we click something just because we want to be nice? You know what I mean? So there's a lot there, and I agree with you. I don't think it's just Soulogy network and community. I think they're all over the place, like your friend, what she was wanting to talk to me about, which no problem. Let's talk about it. Man, dude, you're like a freaking, I had like this big bean standing next to me for a minute. I didn't tap into it, but it was there for a bit. It kind of had a Syrian flavor to it. Big
the Syrian Jedi monk.
Hey, it's 66 people in the house as we come into the home stretch here. Hey,
yeah. I know you're tired and done lots of shows, so you go anytime you want. I feel like we're not quite done. There's still any, and I just want to respond to a few of the brilliant.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Because this is this collective energy. You and I just happen to be the talking puppets who are conduiting all of this collective coming through. So first, I want to say a couple of things. Let me first respond to that about the question of judgment. So to me, I think, in a way, I know for me, I'm fooling myself if I know I make judgments. There's all sorts of judgments. The difference to me, though, is discernment. That's to me what righteous judgment, I think, probably was actually more meant, is discerning. Can we discern different energies and code, and what in those for us is useful or relatable? And we don't need to shut someone else down or cancel their code or say they're wrong. We discern and utilize what's good. Just like Stefan with that. Brilliant. Maybe the very reason that he was prompted to post and make that and say those very words was to bring that to a collective awareness, so we could look at it and go, oh, is the collective really there? Do we really need to go through that? So that we could actually become aware of that subliminal or program, so that we could cancel clear it in a way, but not even by trying to put energy towards cancelling that, just by going, well, they're saying that, but what feels true for me? Where is my energy and imagination and that already, where is it already at? What's it already seeing? Where's it already going? Well, it's not that there over that. So I'll continue to put energy towards this.
Right, exactly.
So, in that there's an honoring. Like, I completely honor, but what's his name? Matthias De
Stefano.
Right? I can completely honor his energy and code in that expression. And I can completely honor you, as I already did, you and Ty, in that show. It was wonderful. It was an amazing show. That energy and code that you were expressing. So discernment doesn't, this is a key word, judgment that comes with condemnation. That's where judgment fails. That's where we, excuse the French, but fuck up. And that includes aspects of ourselves that we are still sitting in judgment of and condemning.
Well, that's the whole point. The whole point is, okay, because is judgment and condemnation, are they one and the same thing? I mean, we can get lost in semantics, but I'm just trying to say the key is, and you just said it, you could say forgiveness, okay? Because if there's 100% compassion, there's no such thing as forgiveness, right? So, but it's the self-forgiveness, the self-judgment, which is basically self-deprecating to your energetic body. I think what you're saying is that that's got to go, number one. But it has to go in self, and that it's not just this life. That's why the body starts to have a problem, and and you go, what the hell's going on? You find out it was some other thing, right, or whatever the case is. So I think, yeah, the important thing that you're saying is it's all connected ultimately. And I know that can sound like a cliche, but there is not any part of the universal that you are not entangled with. And I don't mean entangled by, like they say in quantum. You cannot, that's why I say, how can you detach from something that you're always connected to? So that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, this was good, man. It's a good 3-show day. So, let me just make, go ahead.
No, keep going.
No, I was just going to make a quick announcement. We got, because we're not going to be running full-length shows anymore, and it might be a few days or even a couple of weeks before we have any excerpts from the programming from the networking community. Tomorrow we got Renata Ereni from Greece. Everybody knows her. And we got a boatload of shows for next week, and I don't want to have to go read them all right now because I can barely talk. But yeah, so we'll be on quite a bit tomorrow, though, because that'll be our last official day with full-length videos. And yeah, good seeing you, brother.
You too, brother. Thank you. Thank you for your, prompt to follow my prompt, because it wasn't we need to have a show. It was more like, oh, maybe we should have a conversation prompt. And you felt, oh yeah, we should. And look what happened. But yeah, thank you again, as always, for all you do, all the amazing, amazing, amazing beings it shows you have on. Like, I don't know that, like, oh my God, what's her name? Who you had on? Danny Wilkes, is that her name?
Oh, Danielle.
What you said about the masculine? Oh my God, was that so spot on?
Dude, did you watch Daniel DeKick? I talked about him on the show. I mean, go back and watch that one, man. I mean, there's all kinds. It's been like this. I don't want to say implosion, from the explosion of the humanity that I've been watching since September on these shows. Real quick, she asked a great question. Will there be a calendar? Look, we're going to still put our post up every single day out on social media. Every single day. And we will have a schedule on social media, and we'll have one on the site that you can even see if you're just registered and you're not subscribed. So thank you for that question. Yeah, dude. Yeah, things are getting hot, man. Well, you take care of yourself, and thank you for your service to humanity. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. Thank you for bringing the team with you, your gang, your posse, including Franco. And yeah, man, I love you. You just
thank you, bud. Love you too.
Keep on doing what you're doing.
I have a feeling like next time maybe we'll talk about the beloveds too, but that's
the what?
The beloveds. But this weave is done today. So
the what? What did you say? What did you say? The what?
The beloveds.
Oh, the beloveds. Okay, yeah. All right, man. I'll see you a little bit.
The beloveds, their time of separation's over. But anyway, we'll leave that for now.
Dude, that's coming in fucking huge. Of course, I'm, with one of the instructors. So I mean, her and like some of these other ones, they get this stuff early. But yeah, man, this game on. This triad energy is killing it. Trinity energy, Trinity, divinity, humanity. All right, I gotta go. I'm tired.
Love to all. Thank you for all the brilliant comments and energy in the room. And anyway,
thank you, Jed. Appreciate you.